They laughed. I mean, really laughed. Like I had just told the funniest joke in the world. But I wasn't joking. I had just told them, "One day, I'll own something bigger than all your degrees." And they burst out laughing. He can't even spell university. Let him dream, dreams are free. He's just a mop with a name tag. They didn't know I heard them. But I did. And I never forgot it. My name is Marvin Ellis, and I'm 32 years old now. But this story starts 10 years ago, when I was just 22, working as a janitor at Westbridge University, the #1 school in the country, where the smartest kids went, the richest, the most powerful, and me. I was the guy who cleaned their trash cans, cleaned the bathrooms, the lecture halls. I mopped the floor while people walked around me like I didn't exist. Some students dropped food on purpose just to watch me bend down and clean it. Some didn't even look at me. I was invisible, like a ghost in overalls. But I listened. Oh, I listened. While I scrubbed the tiles, I heard professors speak about science, business, computers, AI. While I cleaned desks, I watched students build apps, solve problems, and make plans for companies they hadn't even started. I saw how the system worked. I saw how the smart moved. I watched everything. But I wasn't one of them. I didn't have a degree. I didn't have rich parents. I didn't even finish high school the regular way. My mom passed when I was 15. My dad left when I was 8. I was raised by my grandma who worked 3 jobs and still couldn't afford new shoes for me. So when I finally got the job as a janitor, I was grateful. Paid the bills. Kept me alive. But being alive isn't the same as living. That day, the day they laughed at me, I was cleaning Lecture Hall B. A huge room with red velvet seats and shiny white floors. The professor had just finished a class on advanced machine learning. As I bent to wipe the edge of the desk, a group of rich kids came in. They were loud, wearing designer bags, expensive sneakers, gold chains, and loud perfume. They were laughing about something. I tried not to listen at first. But then I heard my name. One of them said, "Marvin thinks he's gonna own a company someday. Can you believe that?" They all burst out laughing. One of the girls actually wiped tears from her eyes. "He's just a janitor. A mop with a name tag," someone else said. Another boy added, "I bet he thinks he's smarter than us because he listens while cleaning." That's when I stood up and said it. I didn't plan to. The words just jumped out of my mouth like fire. I said, "One day, I'll own something bigger than all your degrees." Silence. Then laughter. Loud, cruel laughter. The kind that stings your soul. The kind you remember at 2 a.m. when your pillow is wet from crying. I left early that day. Walked home. Didn't even finish mopping. On the way, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, but from anger. I looked up at the sky. It was orange like the sun was burning. And I whispered, "God, please let me prove them wrong. Please." That night, I opened my old laptop. It was cracked. The screen blinked sometimes. But it worked just enough. I typed, "Free online business courses." I typed, "How to start a company." I typed, "What is artificial intelligence?" And I read. 4 hours. Then I fell asleep on the floor, still in my uniform, with a business podcast playing from my phone. That became my life. Every night after work I studied. Every morning before work I read. I stopped going out. Stopped watching TV. I deleted games from my phone. I didn't have time for fun. I was too busy building my mind. Some days I was so tired I couldn't feel my legs. My fingers bled from scrubbing floors. But still I kept going. Because I had something more powerful than money. Had a reason. I wanted to show them. Show the professors who never looked at me. Show the students who thought I was stupid. Show the world that knowledge didn't only belong to people in fancy classrooms. And most of all, I wanted to prove it to myself. I wasn't just a mop with a name tag. I was Marvin Ellis. And I was going to make them remember that name. I was still a janitor by day. But by night, I was building something big. Every evening I would rush home after my shift. My apartment was small. Just one room with a mattress on the floor, one window, and a table I made out of old wood I found near the trash. My cracked laptop sat on it like a broken treasure chest. And to me it was. That laptop became my classroom, my teacher, my lifeline. I studied business first. I didn't even know what a startup was. I thought it meant something you turn on. But I learned. I watched videos on marketing, customer service, product design, and how companies made money online. Then I moved into tech. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, chatbots, algorithms. Words that once scared me started making sense. Slowly. I took notes in old notebooks I picked up from the university trash. I didn't care that they were half-used. I tore out the pages with doodles and used the clean ones. I didn't have college. I didn't have professors. But I had YouTube. I had free courses. I had hunger. First, everything I built failed. My first idea was an app to help students organize their class schedules. I spent weeks learning how to build it. I stayed up until 3 a.m. every night, coding with tutorials. When I finally launched it, only 7 people downloaded it. Cried that night. But the next morning I woke up, made tea, and started again. Next, I built a website that gave free test prep tools. It didn't make money either. But someone emailed me and said, "This helped me pass my exam. Thank you." That one message lit a fire in me. I thought, maybe success isn't about one big win. Maybe it's about many small ones stacked together. So I kept stacking. One failed product became a lesson. One angry review became a tool for fixing things. One success, even tiny, became a seed. And then, the seed grew. My third big idea came when I saw one of the professors complain in the hallway. He was talking to another staff member and said, "The university won't increase our pay, but we're still expected to teach 150 students and answer emails at midnight." That made me think, what if there was a better way? What if I could build something that helped teachers share their lessons online, to more students with less stress? I wrote that idea down. Online learning platform for teachers to create, sell, and manage courses easily. That night, the name came to me while I was washing dishes. MindSpring. Because I wanted people's minds to bloom like spring after a hard winter. I worked on MindSpring for 2 years. Years. I built it slowly. I used free software. I begged people on forums for advice. I offered to clean the apartments of local developers in exchange for mentorship. And finally it launched. First nobody came. Then 1 teacher signed up. Then 5. Then 10. And then, a school in Brazil found us. They bought a full plan for all their teachers. After that, everything exploded. Within 6 months, we had over 10,000 users. Within a year, we had customers in 20 countries. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't poor. I wasn't just surviving. I was building something that mattered. I quit my janitor job. My hands were sore from years of scrubbing. But when I hung up that mop for the last time, I whispered, "Thank you," to it. Because that mop gave me a front row seat to the education I never paid for. I hired a small team. People like me. People who had fire in their hearts. Not fancy degrees. Not rich parents. Just passion. And skill. We worked from a tiny co-working space with flickering lights and broken chairs. But we didn't care. Because the world was starting to notice us. Magazines wrote about us. Blogs called us the platform that could replace university learning. And one day my phone rang. I looked at the number and froze. It was Westbridge University. The place where I was once the janitor. Picked it up. The voice on the other end sounded tired. Nervous. "Mr. Ellis," he said. "We'd like to speak to you about a possible partnership with your company." I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. I just said, "Schedule the meeting. I'll be there." Then I hung up and looked at the wall. There was still a photo I kept taped above my desk. It was an old picture. A janitor uniform. Mop. My face young and tired. And across the photo, in bold red marker, I had written the words, "Remember who they think you are." I walked into Westbridge University again. But this time, not with a mop in my hand. I wore a navy blue suit. Tailored. Clean. I had shiny black shoes, a silver pen in my pocket, and my own assistant walking behind me. As I stepped into the grand front hall, the marble floors I used to mop sparkled under the light. Smiled. I remembered scrubbing those tiles on my knees. Now I was walking over them like a king. The university was in trouble. Deep trouble. Student numbers were dropping. Big donors had pulled out. Their best professors were leaving for better jobs. And guess who they needed to help them? Me. They brought me into a long, wide boardroom. 10 people sat at the table. Professors, the dean, finance heads, and others in suits. They looked nervous. I could see the sweat on some of their foreheads. Mr. Ellis, the dean said, forcing a smile, we've reviewed your company's growth and reach. We think MindSpring might be the perfect solution to modernize our programs. He nodded. Confident. They didn't recognize me. Not yet. But then one of the professors looked up. His eyes squinted. His jaw dropped slightly. I saw the color drain from his face. I knew him. He was one of the professors who used to walk past me like I was gum on the floor. Now I was sitting at the head of his table. I leaned back and said, let's talk terms. They wanted to partner with MindSpring. Use our platform to reach more students online, cut costs, and bring in new money. But I wasn't interested in just a partnership. I made my offer. A full merger. MindSpring takes over your digital education department. I hire the new faculty. I lead the innovation. And I decide who stays. Silence. Someone coughed. Another person shuffled papers. But you're not a graduate, one man said. You don't even have a degree. I looked him straight in the eye and said, no. I just built the system your degrees now depend on. The room went quiet. They had no choice. They were sinking. And I had the lifeboat. They agreed. That day the papers were signed. That day the janitor took over the university. It was a beautiful thing. The same professors who used to talk over me now reported to me. I interviewed each one. I checked their performance. I gave them projects and timelines. Some were shocked. Some were angry. But they followed the rules because now I was the one writing them. One professor walked into my office, pale and stiff. He said, you're Marvin, right? The janitor. Smiled. No, I said. I'm Marvin Ellis, CEO of MindSpring Education. He swallowed hard. I could see the shame in his eyes. I didn't laugh. I didn't mock. I just pointed to the whiteboard and said, here's your task list. You can start tomorrow. I didn't waste my energy on revenge. I used it for something better. Built something new. Something powerful. The Janitor's University. I launched a full online school under MindSpring. A place where people like me, people who couldn't go to college, could still learn. For free. No student loans. No dorm rooms. Just internet effort and belief. I sent scholarships to janitors across the country. Hundreds signed up. Then thousands. They studied marketing, tech, fashion design, music, cooking, and even farming. And they thrived. Some started their own businesses. Some got new jobs. Some became teachers themselves. I met a woman named Eliza, a 52-year-old cleaner from Kentucky. She cried on video and said, this is the first time anyone ever told me I was smart. That made everything worth it. One day I was walking through the campus, my campus now, when I passed the same group of students who laughed at me years ago. They weren't laughing now. One of them was working at the front desk as an intern. Another was in the copy room. A third avoided my eyes and pretended to be on a call. They had graduated into a world that didn't need degrees as much anymore. And they were working for me. I didn't say anything cruel. I just walked past them with a smile. Because I didn't need to shout. My story spoke louder than any words. Now I travel the world. I give talks in cities I once only saw in books. People ask me how I did it. How a janitor became a tech giant. A university founder. Leader. I tell them the truth. I listened when others ignored. I studied when others slept. I believed when nobody else did. And most of all, I never forgot where I started. I keep my old janitor badge in a frame on my wall, right next to the first MindSpring award we ever won. Because that badge is my real diploma. The proof that dreams, when watered with hard work, can grow taller than any classroom wall. They laughed when I said I'd never been to college. But now, I hire their professors,